When it comes to fancy writing, the sky's the limit.
It's art time with Mr. Mayberry. Let's get busy.
Welcome to Art Time with Mr. Mayberry. Lettering is the art of making letters. Today I'm going to show you how to make cloud letters. So let's get started. It's time to make some art. I have my paper turned horizontal and I'm just using a regular pencil to draw. Sometimes people will hire pilots to write messages in the sky. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of imitate that type of writing by coming up with a lettering that looks like clouds or sky writing. So that it's a fun thing to do. It's fairly simple and I think you'll enjoy this. So to start with, we need to have a word, or you could do a whole phrase if you'd like, but a word that we can make into sky letters. A lot of times I'll have students use their first name or last name. If you have a really long name, you might use a shorter version, abbreviation of that. I'm going to use Mr. That's what I go by in the art room. So I'm going to start off with my first name, Mr. And I'm doing the abbreviation for that, which is a M and an R. Now, when you do this first preliminary writing, you want to, we're just printing the letters, and you want to do it fairly lightly because we will erase these when we get to one of the steps here. And if you draw too dark, then it's going to be hard to erase. There'll be some left, which there might anyway, but it's better if you start off drawing your letters very light to begin with. So I'm drawing MR, and I'm using capital letters for this. Now you could use lowercase as well, but capital letters tend to give you more room to make the clouds, or to make it look like clouds. Okay, so I have an M and an R, and then I'll put a little dot because it is an abbreviation. So I'm going to put that at the end. So the first step is to print out the letters of whatever word you choose to do. Now the second part of this is to go ahead and we're going to go around these letters with some bumps that look kind of like clouds. So you can pick any spot on there. I'm going to start here in the bottom on the left, and I'm going to make these bumps that go around the printed letters. Now do not touch the letters. You don't make the line touch the letters. You just kind of go around and use those lines as a guide of where to go. So it kind of has the same shape as the printed letter, but instead of being straight lines, you have these curved bumps. And then, so there's around the outside, and I'll just continue going around the inside all the way around. Notice on the outside, the bumps go out, and on the inside, the bumps go in towards the middle. So we do that all the way around, just like that, and then you connect at the end. So now I've surrounded that printed M with this cloud shape M, which looks a lot like sky writing. Okay, after that is completed, then you go back and you erase the middle, that first printed line. This is why it's good to draw lightly, because we want to erase as much of that as you possibly can. Also, notice how I made these letters really big. If you do this tiny, it's going to be a lot harder to draw it, first of all, and then to erase when you go back and erase. So if you make the letters as big as you can on the paper that you have, it's usually a good idea, because that gives you more room to draw and also more room to erase when it comes time to get rid of that center line. Okay, so there's my M. Now if I happen to erase too much, I can always go back and go over my lines. Or if my lines are really light on the cloud, I could make them a little darker at this point. Okay, so that's the M. Now when you do letters beside each other, you do want to allow some room between. You can overlap. It looks cool too if you overlap. If this was over too far, I could have the cloud starting behind the first letter, and that's the way I would do it. If they're really close, you want to make it look like it's overlapped, and this letter's in front, and the second letter's behind, and the third letter's behind that. But I'm wanting these letters to be beside each other, so I leave enough room in between that I can put the cloud bumps and they don't touch each other. And so that's what I've done here. I've left enough room here, so now I'm going to do the R and see how they're close but they don't touch each other. And I think it's interesting if you've ever watched somebody make cloud letters, it's really cool to watch them because they'll do the letter, and then when they get to the end, they shut off the smoke or whatever it is that they're using to make that letter. They'll shut it off, and then they'll get ready and get in position to start the second letter and start right next to it. And so it's a really neat thing to watch. You could probably find some videos on the internet that show somebody doing skywriting that would be interesting to watch. Okay, so you do the same thing. You go around the outside edge. Now this is one, a lot of times I'll have students ask about, well, how do I do, what if I have an A or an O or something that has an inside to the letter? And it's kind of like what we talked about over here. If it's on the inside of a shape, the bumps are all going to face the middle. And I have some students that get confused about that, and they'll make them still go out, and it doesn't look quite right. So what you do though is you just find a place in here to start, and you'll make the bumps go towards the middle. So they go away from the line is the idea. The bumps go away from the line. And sometimes some of this just takes practice. The more you do this, the better you'll get at it. So anytime you have an open space inside a letter, then you do the bumps inside that open space, but make them go away from the line or towards the middle. Make them go towards the middle. Then I erase that. Erase the center letter again. And you'll do this for every letter that you have in your word or in your name. You just repeat this same process. Okay, so once you've done that, then, I've got one more here. I've got the little dot here, so I'm just going to make a little cloud around it. And then now I'm going to do one more thing. I want to draw an airplane, so it looks like these cloud letters were made by an airplane. And so what I'm going to do is, and this will work for any word that you have, if you go from left to right, you get over to the right side, and then you'll make whatever you've done last, add a smaller little cloud away from that, and then another smaller one, and we'll make them kind of curve around and start to go the other way here, like the plane has done all the writing and now it's curving around to go the other direction, and then I can see what the plane looks like. And the plane itself, what I'm going to do is make it look like it's turned, and this is an old biplane, an old-time plane. And I don't want to start right next to that. I'm going to come over here and make a rectangle that's up and down, that's vertical, like that. And then the front of the plane will stick out from the center of this. So I'm going to make a part that sticks out on the left like that. And that's where the propeller goes, the part that goes around and around and around. So I just make a propeller right there, just like that. And then the back of the plane, it actually starts wider towards the wings and then goes narrower as it goes towards the back. And I'll make it go back about that far. Notice how it slants, the lines slant together. They don't come to a point, but they do get closer together towards the end. And then you have parts of the tail that stick out on either side. And then from this view, you're going to have like a smaller rectangle inside the middle here. And that normally would stick up straight and down, straight up and down. But from this angle, we're seeing a rectangle. And then let's draw the partial circle here. This is where the pilot sits, and then in old-time planes, they had a place for a co-pilot, so we're going to stick that back here, just a oval here. Nobody's sitting in that one, but the pilot we can't really see too well, so I'm just going to kind of shade those circles in. And then just for a little more texture here, I'm going to draw some horizontal lines that go across the wing like this. Alright, and so that's my old-timey airplane. Then I can connect the smoke closer to the tail of the plane here. Alright, now one more thing I'd like to show you before we close this lesson. Something you can do just to kind of get better at this type of lettering, or maybe to develop your own lettering, is to take a page and print off the alphabet. Or if you want to add numbers, you could do that too. But print off the alphabet, just very simple, plain printing. And I did all caps. You could do an uppercase version, a lowercase version. But then you take this and go ahead and draw out the whole alphabet, what it would look like with cloud letters. And this is a good practice, a good exercise in doing this kind of lettering. Or it would also give you a way to kind of design your own letters by starting with the basic center and then doing something different around the letters. But it's good to have a reference like this then later if you want to do cloud letters. What I've shown you today is a good way to get started, but at some point you'll know how to draw the letters without drawing anything in the middle first. You'll just be able to draw the letters just like they are, just like you write letters normal now. After a lot of practice, you've learned how to do that. You can do the same thing with the cloud lettering. Just the more you practice at it, the better you get, and you understand how the letters are made. And so once you've learned that, then you could just draw them without the middle lines. So anyways, it's good to make a reference page of the alphabet using whatever lettering you're doing. In this case, cloud letters or skywriting. So that's just something you might do to extend your project. Go ahead and clean up your drawing. Add any color that you'd like. This is our project for today, making cloud letters. If you liked making cloud letters, then why not see if you can come up with your own way to make letters? Well, thanks for coming to the art room, and I'll see you next time.
See you later. Hi, bye.
I didn't see the writing on the wall, but I did see some in the sky.